gone live yet. Right, apologies for that. Hello everybody, we are live now. I was doing something a little bit different there and I forgot to press a little button on the YouTube channel, so I was talking away at people for about a minute and nobody was there. So hello everybody, if you can hear me and see me, please let me know in the chat that everything is working okay. I'm trying to get the chat widget working again, which it doesn't seem to be working. It keeps disappearing and I don't know why. It's this piece of software that I'm using, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it doesn't appear to be working now. YouTube live chat viewer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over here. Graham says we can hear you and see you. Christina's here. Lots of people are here, which is great. But the chat window does not appear to be working on here, and I don't know why. Yeah, which is really unusual. So I'm just going to disable that for a minute. So yeah, this is the YouTube live chat viewer, and it doesn't seem to be working. Now, let's just have a look what it says. Widget will automatically connect when you start streaming. Well, I'm streaming, and it's not automatically connecting. So I'm going to try and just get this working for a minute. I might need to remove it and re-add it, which is a bit of a pain. So apologies, bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves in the chat. I'm just going to authorize this, if I can remember my password. Let's hope I do. And then I'm going to talk about all the games that I brought back from Essen, although I'm going to cheat. Right, it is this. And I think it's that. I think that's my password. Yeah, I'm going to cheat. I'm not just going to cover the games that I brought back from Essen. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about all of the games that I've brought back in the last few weeks. So some games that have arrived in the last few weeks just before Essen, I'm going to class them in this video. There we go. Tom's here, Christina's here, Jerome's here. Excellent. Have I turned it off and on again? Well, that's kind of what I've just done. Now, the other thing that I'm doing different this time is a few people while I was at Essen told me that I should be live streaming on multiple platforms at the same time. I have no idea how to do that. So, Peter's here, no sound. Right, okay, well that's fine. In fact, if I keep quiet and just then you're in the same boat as everybody else. No, that's silly. So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm live streaming this on Facebook at the same time. I don't know if this is working or not. I probably should go over to my Facebook page on my iPad, but if somebody can do that in the chat, just pop over to the Gaming Rules Facebook page, and this should be going out there as well. Yeah, I don't know if it is or if it isn't, but what I've also done is I've enabled this Facebook live comments, and this doesn't seem to be working at all. Yeah, this doesn't seem to be there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the authorization and then I'm going to set it up again, which is what I had to do with the previous one. So I just need to log into Facebook. So put in my password in here. Thank you for bearing with me. All of these technical things that seemed to work fine this afternoon and then didn't work when I actually need it. Brandon's here, sorry. I'm also full of a cold, so apologies. I am getting through this. Brett says live on Facebook as well, which is great, but the chat is not working. Right, so my plan was to get the Facebook live comments working, and that doesn't seem to be. The widget that I've got plugged in doesn't seem to be on there, so I'm going to turn that off. Apologies for anybody watching this on Facebook. If you start chatting on Facebook, I'm not going to see them. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put on my iPad. No, because actually I need my iPad for something else. Right, anyway, right, lots of people are here in the chat. Let's get on with things because I'm going to be here a while. I've got a lot of games to go through. And as mentioned, I'm going to talk about some of the ones that I've actually had recently, not just the new ones that I brought back from Essen. And I'm going to be talking about some of the coverage that I'm going to be doing over the next couple of months. There's one thing that I wanted to get out of the way at the start of this, and this has been something which has been a problem for some content creators over the last couple of years, is when they post their Essen hauls, there's a few people that decide to give them a lot of criticism for whatever reason. Now, I brought back, I think it was 54, 55 games. Now that, to me, that's an extraordinary number of games. If I was just attending Essen as a regular punter, buying the games for me to bring back and play myself, I would have bought 15 to 20, which is a normal number I think that a lot of people do. The reason I've brought back this many games is this is my job, right? And I am going to be spending the next 2 months doing lots and lots of coverage of these games and lots of live streams. So please remember that if you're watching this video and go, oh, look at him, he's bragging, he's brought 55 games home from Essen. This is my job. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be providing a lot of playthrough videos and a lot of information about these games over the next couple of months, okay? The other thing that I wanted to mention just before we start is a lot of the content that I'm going to be making in the next 2 months is purely funded through my Patreon campaign. I decided after last year that I'm going to basically reduce the amount of commissioned work I do for November and December. So I have, very little. I'm probably going to be busy about 20% of my time instead of 150% of my time doing the commissioned work. The rulebook work and the game development and everything else. I've decided to take a step back from that in November and December, and thanks to the support of my Patreon campaign, that's given me the financial flexibility to be able to do that and essentially produce lots of content for you. Now, all of my content is always free, so although the Patreon supporters are funding it, I don't ever want to put any content behind a paywall. It's just not something that sits comfortably with me. Right, so we've got that out of the way. Lots of people are here. Excellent, thank you very much. And yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the first game, and this is going to be a little bit unusual, this one that I'm going to talk about. Now, let's make sure I've got my images correct. I think I've got all these images correct. And then if I do this, yeah, so the first game I'm going to talk about is On Mars. Because it wasn't available, really, except a few people, reviewers, did manage to get a copy of On Mars at Essen. Now, they did manage to get a few copies in to give to a few people, and backers are going to be getting their copy soon. Now, although I've had my copy for a few weeks now, I wanted to talk about it because I said I'd talk about the content that I'm making in the next 2 months. And you can actually see it's actually set up on my table here. If I wasn't ill today and tomorrow, I would have hopefully finished the On Mars tutorial and playthrough video. Not a playthrough video, how to play video, that's it. So this is one of the pieces of commissioned work that I am doing. So On Mars, the how to play video is coming soon. So keep an eye out for that. It's about 45 minutes long, and it will teach you how to play On Mars from start to finish. Yeah, right, so that's that one. Now, let's get my list up, because, in fact, no, I'll tell you what. I'm just going to do this in alphabetical order. So I'm going to switch the image to the next one, and I'm just going to talk about these in no particular order. I say no particular order, alphabetical order. Right, the first one is Adventureland. Now, this is from Haber. Is that too big, or is that about right? Let's make it... There we go. Right, so... Jerome's saying, On Mars, first time I've heard you talk about it. Yes, very... So, Adventureland, and another thing that I probably should say at the start is, unfortunately, I haven't done all of the research that I really wanted to do on all of the 55 games that I'm going to be talking about. But, for those of you that don't know, there's this really good website called Board Game Geek, and I'm going to go onto it right now, and I am not just going to read through about it, not for all of them anyway, but some of them I'm afraid I'm just going to have to give you the information that I have. Now, Adventureland is a 2015 game, so why is it on this list? Well, the reason it's on this list is I spotted some pictures, I think it might have even been from Tom Vassell, and he was basically playing this game, and he was posting some pictures about it, and I looked at it, and I thought, oh, that actually looks quite interesting. It's by Michael Kiesling and Wolfgang Kramer, so Kiesling and Kramer, they've done a lot of games together that are really good. And it's by Haber. Now, Haber, a lot of people think just do the yellow box kids games, but they don't. They do another range of games as well. So I contacted Tiffany, who now works at Haber, and said, I'm quite keen on this. It looks like the kind of thing that I might cover on my channel, because as well as the heavy games, I'm also covering some of the family weight games as well. So I had a meeting with Tiffany at Essen and basically got a copy of Adventureland. Yeah, I don't know much about it, except for the weight rating is 1.93 on BGG, so that ties in with what I thought about the game, with it being a sort of family weight game. Takes about 45 minutes, and yeah, we'll see how it goes, but it is one that I do want to be covering. Right, I'm just going to have a look at the chat window, because if you've played Adventureland or you know anything more about it, then please let me know. Please let me know in the chat. So yeah, Board Game Inquisition says, I love this game. I'm not sure if you mean On Mars or Adventureland. I'm assuming you mean Adventureland. And you're saying it's your favourite designers. Cool. And yes, Graham is saying that the rules have changed since Aircon for On Mars. So yeah, if you've been taught On Mars by me at an event, forget everything, because the game's probably changed. Make sure you watch the video. Paul Allwood is here. Hello, Paul. Good to see you at Essen briefly. Rule problems. Well, I always say that if other people find rule problems with the game, then I'm probably going to find them as well. Hopefully, the game came out in 2015 and there's BGG questions about it. Annette's here as well. Hello, Annette. Thank you for joining in. And Tom Heath from Slicker Rips is saying it's awesome. Now, Tom, did you find any rules problems with the game? Because apparently it has rules problems. Anyway, that's Adventureland. Moving on to game 2 of 55. We are going to be here for a while. All right, settings, change. Next one is Aeon's End War Eternal. And if you notice that all of these images are coming up exactly the same vertical height in the thing. Yeah, that's because I fiddled around with them all today to make sure they all fit. So, Tom's saying that he did a playthrough and the expansion has a co-op mode. Well, I didn't pick up the expansion. So anyway, right, Aeon's End War Eternal. Aeon's End is one of those games which I've heard about and I've heard people playing it, but you know, with 1,000 or 1,500 games coming out every year, you can't keep up with all of them. So I didn't. And then I started hearing about Aeon's End Legacy and people sort of saying, wow, this is great and it's a really good way to actually introduce the game. And then I had a dabble around with there's a version on Steam. So I had a dabble around with that and I thought, oh, I actually quite like this. So what I've got is Aeon's End War Eternal, which, it's a cooperative deck building game where you're fighting bad guys and trying to beat them. I believe that there are multiple base sets of this game. So Aeon's End War Eternal is the 4th one, I think. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But it can be played standalone. Excuse me a minute. This, as I say, I do have a cold. And where's my handkerchief for blowing my nose? Oh, it's not here. Brilliant. Oh, there it is. Hang on a minute. Sorry about this. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of sniffling going on. So Aeon's End War Eternal. This is the physical copy of the game that I'm looking forward to giving a go. As I say, I've dabbled around with the version on the PC, which is pretty much just, you know, I play multiple characters, but I do want to give this a play multiplayer because I quite like these multiplayer cooperative deck building games. Jerome saying Aeon's End was cool, played it at Essen 2016 or 2017. Graham saying he saw people playing it and it looked like it was fun. Discard pile is never shuffled, just flip. Yeah, that's the weird thing with this game, is unlike most deck builders, when your deck runs out, you shuffle your discard pile. In this, you don't. You actually just flip your discard pile face down and then start again. So it brings another element of which cards do you discard in what order, because that's the order in which you're going to get them back. Anyway, Matt says, did I take hand sanitizer with me as you recommended? Right, so no, and apologies, but that's probably why I've got a cold. Thankfully, it is just a cold. I've had this since Monday, and I'm not going to make it out to be anything more than what it is. It's just a cold. And I'll get over it, and I've had to do some work today, but yeah, I'm getting through it. Anyway, right, so that is... So Paul's saying he's always been put off with the non-shuffle discard pile. I thought it was going to be a bit unusual as well, but it's actually fine. It wasn't a problem. And as I say, I did have that... Because one of the problems I find with the usual deck building games is, especially Star Realms, which, unpopular opinion, I don't really like. A lot of games like that, and Dominion to an extent as well, is the play all mechanic has the issue of, did I manage to get the combo or not? I did, awesome, let's do the combo. And because your discard pile is shuffled, that's a random factor that you have no control over. Whereas in this, because you can put the cards into your discard pile in whatever order you want, you can make that combo. You can set it up for that combo. So yeah, quite good. Adam's here. Hello, Adam. Yes, sorry to not spend much time with you. I've asked them next year if it's as hot at Fitzpatrick's to open that side door as well. Essen was going through a bit of a heat wave at the time, and the Fitzpatrick's on the Thursday night was very warm, very, very warm. Anyway, right, that's Aeon's End Aeon's End War Eternal. And I'm keen to try Aeon's End Legacy as well. Right, okay. Let's move on to the next one. I don't know if I'm going to last, actually. I'm struggling. It's another A. It's Age of Steam. Now, Age of Steam is one of a series of games. There's Age of Steam, there's Steam, and there's Railroad Tycoon, I think, which then got renamed Railways of the World. They're all similar. Age of Steam is the original one. Winsome Games originally published it. This is the deluxe edition from Eagle Gryphon Games. And I've played Age of Steam when it came out. And I played a few games of it then. And then I played Steam. And I've played Railways of the World. Steam is probably my favourite one. But there are bits of Age of Steam that I really like. There are bits of Age of Steam that I really don't like. But I am very keen to give this new version a try. I don't own the original Age of Steam. And yes, yeah, we will see. So I've got this. Now, the other thing you'll notice is that I don't actually have the physical game here. And that is because I only brought back in my suitcase and my hand luggage about 12 games. The rest of them are at Nilsson and Vashti's house and Mark's house. So thank you very much to the three of you for helping transport my games home. I will be getting them over the next week or two. The ones I brought home myself are the ones which I'm doing the coverage for very soon. So I needed to make sure I had them with me. Anyway, Matt's saying, what makes this deluxe? Well, if you look in the box, no. It's a very good question. What makes it deluxe? Answers in the chat. But from the pictures that I saw, it looked big, bulky, lots of nice components, and that kind of thing. So it's probably that that makes it the deluxe version. Anyway, right, so that's Age of Steam. Yeah, so the last time I played it was a very long time ago, and if you're interested in the rule that I didn't like, is the one, and heavy gamers are probably going to switch off the video at this point, but this is my opinion, having to make the decision at the start of the turn and plan ahead the entire turn to work out how many loans you need to take. Great. For heavy gamers who want that kind of, mental gymnastics at the start. I know that I'm going to need 3 loans this turn, so I'll take 3 loans at the start. That's fine. For people who play with more, heavy gamers, but people who don't want to get into a position in a complex game to go, oh, I'm completely and utterly screwed because I should have taken 3 loans and I only took 2. My game is over. It's just too punishing. And I don't want games to be too, I like them to be tough and I like them to be a challenge. I don't like them to be too punishing because that's just not nice. Anyway, right. So, Age of Steam. I am looking forward to trying the new version because, as I say, it's an old game that I have played before a long time ago. Right. Next, moving on. Bees. I don't know anything about this. This is one of the ones that I really don't know much about. So I am going to look it up. Apart from, Charlie Paul said to me today, I'm glad you picked up Bees because it's really nice. So that is about all I know about it. It's Bees, the Secret Kingdom. So it's published by Awaken Realms Light and Van Ryder Games. Now, I get on well with both Awaken Realms Light and Van Ryder Games. So it is a game that I was interested in. I'll give it a bit of coverage. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to read out what it says about the game to give you a bit of a description. So it's a family game. You probably get that from the size of the... And that box, by the way, is not that big. If you compare that box size to the Age of Steam box, this is actually quite a small box. It's a family game based on bees, choosing between creating honey or playing flower cards to get pollen tokens. 2 modes of play, one for families and younger players, and there's advanced one as well. So I'll probably jump straight into the advanced game. But yeah, that's it. It is what it says it is. It's a family weight game about bees and creating honey. Meeple Pete is saying that you played it with the designer, which is Camille, I think, from... Camille's from Awaken Realms Light. Yes. How many releases were about bees? It's a good question. I don't know. How many bee games have we had? We've had a few. Matt is saying it's a honey of a game. Thank you very much. Actually, Matt, you support me on Patreon, but I think it should be the other way around. I think I should be paying you for the puns in the comments. And Daniel is saying could not agree more about Age of Steam. That's good to know. I'm sure it's not just me. What is the tastiest thing you ate and where did you eat it? I had a lot of good food at Essen. In fact, every meal that I ate at a restaurant-y type place was good. The best one was probably the last night where we went to, what's the name of that Italian near Ruttenstreiderstern? Anyway, it's that. Can't remember. But it's an Italian restaurant. It's fairly near, it's about 5 minutes walk from the Messe. I went there with the Cephalofair Games crowd. So I'm just checking what it's called because Price sent me a message and said, I'll meet you here, unless somebody in the chat wants to tell me what it was called. It begins with a V. Alright, this is the conversation about me getting my copy of Maracaibo. Vapiano, there we go. Yep, I got there before other people did. Vapiano, Italian restaurant, really good, a little bit unusual in that you actually, there's like 5 different display things and you go to which one you want and the chef's there right in front of you and you order it and they give you a card when you walk in and you put your card on and they charge you for it, they cook it right in front of you, give it you and you walk away. There's no waiting staff at all in this restaurant, just all the chefs lined up. It's quite cool. Joey's saying you should have come up to Leo's Casa. Right, okay. Graham says the tastiest thing he had was at McDonald's. What? Right. Adam's saying there was a really good game called Breaking Bears, which also involved bees. Right. Okay. Oh yeah, the correct answer is street waffles for the best thing that I ate. I've actually had 3 street waffles today. It's helping with the cold. They are, yeah, definitely medically soothing. Right, okay, so so there were several bee games this year. Interesting. Okay. Right, moving on. So that's bees. I'll let you know more. I mean, lots of people have asked me, oh, what do I think about the games from Essen? Ask me in December. In December, when I have hopefully played a lot of these new games, I will have a lot more of an idea. I mean, I'll be doing the monthly video logs, where I'll be covering them. Oh, and Doug is saying Age of Steam has graphics by Ian O'Toole. Well, there you go. Right. So, next is Bloomtown. So, Bloomtown I was interested in because it's by a new publisher, Sidekick Games, but actually the designers are not new. So, this is Asger and Daniel, who have designed a number of games together, and they are on fire at the moment. So, Deep Blue, which has just come out, Copenhagen has just come out, and Bloomtown as well, and they've done a few others. And basically they've decided to self-publish this one, which is a brave move. I know a number of people that have not ventured into the publishing area just because it's a minefield and just prefer to design games and have them picked up by other people. But yeah, these 2 designers they're on fire at the moment. They are doing some really good stuff. If you like relatively light, relatively quick family weight games, okay? If you like that, then this is definitely one to look at. Because Copenhagen is a 5-minute teach, plays in like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and it's really good. Deep Blue, it's a bit random for heavier gamers, but it captures the theme well, and it plays in its 45 minutes, Days of Wonder. And this one as well. Now, this is one of 2 games that I actually played at, no, 3 games that I actually played at Essen. I played this on the Wednesday night with a couple of people, so Isaac Childress and a couple of other people from his group. We played this on Wednesday night in the Motel 1 lobby. And it was exactly what I expected it to be. It was relatively light and relatively easy to teach, and it was a city building game that reminded me... Excuse me a minute. I am definitely going to have to blow my nose. Where's my tissue gone? Oh dear. Right, sorry about that. I could have not done this video and waited till the weekend, but I didn't want to because I'm busy at the weekend. Right, yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Between Two Cities because you're putting things in a grid and the subways will score for diagonals and the other ones will score for other directions. So yeah, it's a light, tile-taking, tile-placement game that was all right. And if you like the games by those 2 and you like the family weight games, then that's it. Scott has just arrived and said, has he missed much? Yes, Scott, we've covered 97 games so far. No, we've actually covered about 3. We're going to be here a while. Meeple Pete is saying the graphics on Bloomtown is fantastic. Likes the use of negative space. Yeah, it is good. It doesn't look too busy. Tony's here. Hello, Tony. We haven't spoken about you yet. And Bloomtown is going to be available at Walmart soon. So Daniel didn't buy it. Interesting that it's going to be available at Walmart. Yeah, I mean, as I say, they are doing family weight games. So that's that. Right, now let's move on. After Bloomtown is, next in alphabetical order, is Bus. Now, Bus is originally a Splotter game. I mean, it still is a Splotter game, but... oh, hello. Hello, are you coming up? Come on, are you camera shy? Loki's decided to join me. Are you coming up? Come on. Every time you come up, but today you're not. Why are you not coming up? Anyway, Bus, I'll carry on talking. Come on. There we go. Right. Your adoring crowd. There you go. No, wait, no. Didn't like that. Anyway, Bus. Yeah, so Splotter Games, it's an older Splotter game. Capstone Games, I don't know who came up with the idea of reprinting it. Maybe Capstone Games did and agreed with Splotter. I haven't played this one, but the Splotter games, some of them I really like, and this is one of those ones that I had heard about, and the theme appealed to me, and the way that the mechanisms in the game work appealed to me. I'm just going to look at when it was originally out. So when Capstone Games said they were going to redo it, I was quite excited. I have a good working relationship with Clay from Capstone Games, and this is a game that he wants me to do a tutorial and playthrough video on my channel at some point in the next month or two. Hopefully in the next month, we will see. And whilst a lot of Splotter games are not my cup of tea, I respect the designers for what they do, because they do something fairly unique and different from everything else that's out there. 1999 was the original version of Bus. So yeah, it's been 20 years that's out. 80 euros for Bus. Wow. Okay. That's, yeah, I mean, Splotter games do tend to be quite expensive because I know they do small print runs. But yeah, 80 euros. Gosh, yeah, that seems quite high. I've not opened the box yet, so I don't know what's in it. We will see. We will see. Right, let's just scroll up the comments. Is Paul talking to Vicky? No. Yeah, Tony's here to watch me rave about Alibari. We'll talk about Alibari next, actually. So yeah, Bus. I'm going to be doing a playthrough of it. I'm very keen on this one. This one is with Nilsson and Vashti at the moment, so I don't actually have this one. But yeah, looking forward to that one. Now, Alibari, since Tony's here, let's talk about Alibari. I didn't bring a copy of Alibari back from Essen. There's a couple of reasons why. Well, there's one main reason. I've already got a prototype, an advanced prototype copy of Alibari. I did a live tutorial and playthrough on it a couple of weeks ago. So if I wanted to play Alibari right now, I could play it if I wanted to. And because they had limited stock at Essen Spiel, I've said that, you know, that's fine. I'm not in a rush to get my own final production copy of it. I'll wait until the rest of them become available. Since Tony is in the chat, Tony, let us know how quickly they sold out. I am imagining quite quick. But yeah, let me know. Right, so Graham's saying that he watched the Heavy Cardboard playthrough of Bus and decided it was a little dry, especially given the cost. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind dry games. I'm going to be talking about some other dry games later on. You know, if it's moving cubes around, if it's pick up and deliver. I'm assuming it's pick up and deliver. I don't know. It might not be. Because there's another game that came out at Essen this year called Drawing a Bus Route or Building a Bus Route or something like that. So, Joe said a couple of our group demoed it and it's very Splotter. Yeah, now, so Splotter games tend to be very much on major decisions points, and if you make a wrong decision on turn one, you lose the game. And that's the case with pretty much almost everything that I've played, and that has its advantages and disadvantages. It means the skill level is very high in the game, but it also means it's not very forgiving. Tony's saying 40 minutes. Wow. So if that is the answer to the question of how quickly did they sell out, 40 minutes is, yeah, I would have thought the first couple of hours. So yeah, that's really cool. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the chat a bit bigger because we all know this is about Essen. There we go. I'm scrolling a bit less now. So yeah, they were all sold out of Alibari on Saturday at least. You grabbed one on Thursday, Joe. Yeah, that's good. Right, have I missed any? If I miss anything in the chat and it's important, please just mention it again. Oh, the Mr. E says no Brussels 1897. No. And there's a few games that are not going to be on today's list. Brussels 1897 is not on this list because unfortunately I actually didn't have any time whatsoever to go and see anything myself. And even the stalls that there was a few booths that I walked past. And Brussels 1897 was one of them. Offshore, the Magnificent was another one. And I still find it uncomfortable in approaching people and introducing myself and saying what I do and asking potentially for a review copy to cover on the channel. And I've done a lot of that over the last couple of months by mailing publishers and everything else. And with the lack of sleep that I had and how I was feeling at the time, I decided I wasn't going to put myself through that too much. So I saw a couple of booths, and yes, I could have gone up to them, struck up a conversation, but I didn't feel comfortable enough. So there's a few games which I would have liked to have picked up, which aren't on this list, but they kind of were on my list to have a look at. I just didn't actually have a look at them. Scott is saying Food Chain Magnet, a 5-hour game that's decided in the first round. Well, maybe not 5 hours, but yeah. Yeah, people are saying Alibari, they got it quick, which is great. Tony's saying Brussels 1897 is very good. Not played its parent, but the card game was good fun. So yeah, Brussels 1897 is the card game version of Brussels 1893, I think, which I've not actually played myself. Anyway, right, we've talked a bit about Bus, and we've talked a bit about Alibari. Let's go on to the next one. We're only on the Bs. Cartographers. Now, I'm cheating here. I did not come back from Essen with a copy of Cartographers. I came back from Gen Con with a copy of Cartographers. So why am I talking about it now when Gen Con was like 2-3 months ago? And it's because I haven't actually done anything with my copy of Cartographers yet. And I apologise to Tim and to Thunderworks Games for that. It's just one of those things that hasn't happened and kept getting bumped. I want to do some coverage of it. I want to learn how to play it. I want to play it. I want to talk about it. So I've decided to put it on this video here so that I can say, hey everybody, I've got a copy of Cartographers. I'm going to be talking about it, and I'm hopefully going to be playing it over the next month or two. So yeah, Cartographers. I almost played it on the Saturday night, and then went and played Letter Jam instead. Adam's saying he was sad that he missed getting a sealed copy of Lorenzo Il Magnifico for €7.50. What? How was there a sealed copy of that for €7.50? Wow. Okay. And Dennis is saying, change your password. You can see the keyboard as you're typing. Ah, yes, I probably do need to change my password. Please nobody log on and do anything with my Google account. Well, I will change the password. Offshore sold out as well, sadly. Right, okay. So I missed out on that one. And I know Offshore had a little bit of criticism for the theme. Girona has to go. Thank you very much. Right, let's move on to the next one then. So that is a little bit about Cartographers. It's a roll and write game set in the role player universe that's I've heard lots of good things about. So yeah, I want to be playing that. Next up is Caelus 1303, which I did come back from Essen with a copy of, even though it's not out yet. And the reason for that is they are asking me to do a tutorial and playthrough video of it, basically in preparation for it coming out. So they brought a handful of copies to Essen with them, and I got one of them. I've talked about Caelus 1303 before. I shouldn't really say that the game is absolutely fantastic because Space Cowboys are one of my clients. I'm being commissioned to do some work on the game. But it is. Caelus is one of my favourite games of all time, and I love this new version so much. It's really, really good. So yeah, I do have a copy of Caelus. That is with me downstairs, unless Suzanne has broken in and stole it while I was sleeping, which she might well have done actually, considering how much she envies me for having a copy of the game. Right, talking about the sale booth, it was Lorenzo Il Magnifico, €7.50, sold out quickly. Huge stack of them. Wow. If I'd have just noticed that on the Wednesday or the Thursday, I would have definitely bought one, because Lorenzo Il Magnifico, I've not played. I'm going to be talking about this later on. So Phil Pettifer, Graham Charlton, who are not being paid by Space Cowboys, say that Caelus 1303 is absolutely fantastic. So there we go. And Rick's listening on the way home. Tom says, is it better than Caelus Magna Carta? Yes. It is. I mean, I quite like Caelus Magna Carta, but that's not a patch on Caelus. Whereas this is. It's just really, really good. So yes, I will be doing a tutorial and playthrough video of Caelus at some point. I need to speak to Space Cowboys to see when they want it done. I'm in two minds. I think the best time for me to do a video on it is just before it comes out, or even the day that it's released, so that, you know, timing it is right. But I do need to speak to Space Cowboys and find out if any other reviewers got a copy of Caelus at Essen. Because if they did, I want to be the first to put some content up about it. That's a purely selfish thing, and that's the way that the world of content creation goes. Daniel Newman's here. Hello, Daniel. Daniel doesn't love Lorenzo, which means it's a terrible game, and I shouldn't play it. There we go. Always listen to Daniel. He knows what he's on about. Next, we have... What's next? Coloma. Speaking of games that I am going to be doing tutorial and playthrough videos on at some point, this is one of them. And it's funny how this came about, because I've had some contact with Final Frontier games in the past before. I got talking to the designer of this game, which is Johnny Pat Cantin, with Sierra West, because I covered Sierra West. I did 3 videos for it, did a review of it, got chatting with him about it. The subject of potential sponsored playthrough videos for his 2 new games with Final Frontier came up. An hour later, I'm doing 2 sponsored playthrough videos. So I mentioned that I'm not doing that many sponsored videos this month. Coloma and Fistful of Meeples, I will be doing. In fact, I've actually got this in the diary, I think. Let's just have a look at my diary, because I can actually tell you when some of these are actually booked in. So I think I've got Coloma booked in for... No, I haven't. I haven't got that one booked in yet. Tomorrow, I'm going to be sitting down and going through all of these games and trying to fit them into a slot in the next couple of months. And then I'll be basically publishing that list so that you all know in advance what you're doing. Coloma looks fantastic. I've not heard anything bad about the game. I think, Graham, you said it was your favourite game of the year. I think. Rachel's here from Semicop. Hi, Rachel. It's got a little Back to the Future Easter egg graphic on the board. Yeah, and also there is a Star Trek hidden Easter egg on the box cover as well, which took us a while to spot, but we did find it in the end, which is what Graham just said. Yeah, Star Trek Easter egg on the box cover, because it's Final Frontier games, so all of their games apparently have a Star Trek related Easter egg somewhere on the box. So yeah, Coloma, I don't know much about it at the moment. Graham can tell you everything in the chat. And Phil's saying that you played 1 round of it and it seemed good. Yeah, so I'm very much looking forward to that one. I will let you know as soon as I've got a date for when I'm doing the tutorial and playthrough video of that one. Right, next is... What's next? Cooper Island. Now, this is a game which I first saw a prototype of at LyriaCon earlier on this year. And the fact that it is a game by Andreas Odenhal, who did La Granja and other ones, I was very keen on this. And I'm actually friends with Matthias, who works at Frosted Games. I say works at Frosted Games, I think he owns Frosted Games. I've known him for like 20 odd years, because we used to both play Netrunner together. And when I say Netrunner, I mean original Netrunner in the late 90s. So we knew each other from way back when. And obviously, because of the relationship that I have with Capstone Games, it was agreed that I would be doing a video for this game. And this is one that I do have booked in. Put it in your diaries. If you want to learn how to play this game, it will be the 8th of November. Friday, the 8th of November, 8 PM UK time, is when I'm doing Cooper Island. And yes, so I don't know much about it at the moment, other than just the whole look of it. It's right up my alley. But we will see. So yeah, Cooper Island. Let's just punch some more information about it here. Cooper Island. Here we go. So yeah, co-published by Frosted Games, Capstone Games, and also Pegasus Spiel are doing the German version as well. So Age of Exploration. Players arrive at a new home far away from their homeland, colonising the big island, each player trying to explore one part of it by placing landscape tiles. Special thing about Cooper Island is the way that players mark their victory points, which are small ship markers placed around the island to show their progress. I don't know why that's so special, but we will see. So yeah, Cooper Island. Daniel's very interested in it. Graham says it's a very strange shape. Matt is asking if Maracaibo is still on for the 1st of November. Well, we'll get to that when we get to M, but yes, it is. Graham is saying it really is excellent. He spent all weekend demoing it to people. Ah, this is Coloma. Yeah, Graham's talking about Coloma. Right, so Coloma, it is excellent. Right, now Cooper Island. So Daniel's interested in it. Has anybody played Cooper Island? And if so, let me know in the chat what you think about it. Paul is saying, if it's the one he's thinking of, doesn't Cooper Island take mechanisms from Antics? I don't know Antics. Yeah, I don't know that one. Let's have a look. See what the main mechanisms in the game are. Oh dear. According to BGG. Now, where is it? No, I can't find it. Oh, here we go. Tile placement, worker placement. There we go. Right. So, who knows? And Matt is saying Cooper Island has some very interesting mechanics. Right. So, there we go. It's got the mechanisms from Antics, which I don't know, and it's got some interesting ones. But we will find out. I will definitely find out before the 8th, because I need to play it, learn it, and do a rough script on how to teach it before the 8th. Right, and Graham's saying that there's another, Fistful of Meeples. I'm going to cover that in a minute as well. Right, so Cooper Island. If you didn't see my pre-Essen show, Cooper Island was number 2 on my list of things that I was most looking forward to. And Matt's saying that the rulebook acknowledges Antics. Maybe in the way that La Granja acknowledges Luna for borrowing some of its mechanisms. So, cool. Yeah, there we go. Right. That is Cooper Island. We're on the seas. We're doing all right. I'm not dead yet. Crusoe Crew. Now, this is a game which I was not expecting to pick up at all. But I went over to speak to AJ from Van Ryder Games. I've known AJ now. I mean, I only see him at conventions and we just chat briefly about things. But AJ wanted to speak to me, and he wanted to speak to me about a couple of games that he had. And he was very generous. And he basically said, Paul, I want you to have a couple of these games, no strings attached. You don't have to cover them on your show. You don't have to, talk about them or anything else like that. And when a publisher does that, that's great, because I feel really guilty when a publisher wants to give me something and then he's like, they're expecting a review of it, because sometimes I don't have time to get round to doing a review of everything. And if you're being given games with the expectation of some coverage or a review and then you don't get round to doing them, I feel bad. So he opened the conversation with no strings attached or everything else, at which point I went, right, well, you're going to get some coverage. And he gave me a copy of Frontier Wars that I'll be talking about later on. But Crusoe Crew. Now, Crusoe Crew, so Van Ryder Games have done a series of escape room style puzzle game graphic adventures. So graphic novels, but there's a game in there with things that you've got to spot. I've not really dabbled much with them. They've been on the list of things for me and Vicky to do when we get a minute. And as regular followers of mine know that I haven't had a minute in the last year. But I really want to get round to doing them. And this is similar to that, except this is 4 separate books. You play with 4 people and you're all playing at the same time. So each person around the table will have their own book. And as I say, it's a graphic novel, but presumably you're working together. Maybe you've been abandoned on an island or something like that. I'm not sure. But this is a game which I knew nothing about at all. And then AJ basically put one in a bag as I was walking away, and I still didn't know anything about it. I've since read about it and I'm quite interested in it. So that's that one. Matt from Creaking Shelves is here. That definitely looks like your kind of game. I'm assuming you're talking about Cooper Island there. But anyway, the Crusoe Crew. Anybody else pick this up? Anybody else know anything about this game? If you're interested in it. Keith is here. Glad to see you're alive. Yes, I am alive. I'm full of a cold. But yeah, apart from that, I'm okay. Right. So that's Crusoe Crew. Moving on. This is the problem with the 20-second delay chat. I'll tell you what, I'm going to have a drink. Let's just have a break. Right. Next is another game that Tony Boydell has said is excellent. I'd heard a number of good things about this. So it kind of arrived on my... This is Dadao Cheng, if that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. But this is the 2nd edition. Let's just have a look at when the 1st edition came out, because I don't actually know that. But this is the 2nd edition. It's Taiwan Board Games Design, TBD. And I see these guys at UK Games Expo and Essen every year, and we have a chat. But I don't think I've really covered many of their games. Now, the original game was 2015. And yeah, a few people had told me that it's a really good game. And then Tony Boydell said he's played it and it's a really good game, as is the 2nd edition. So this is one that I was very keen to get and very keen to give some coverage on the channel, because, as I say, I'd heard it was good and a few people had said it's the kind of game that I'd like. So going back to my previous conversation about being given review copies, TBD were also very generous, and they said, look, if there's anything else you want a review copy of, just say. And they had like 5 new games. And I could have very easily said, sure, I'll have one of everything. I could have done that, but I wouldn't have been able to give all of those games the coverage that I felt that they deserved. So, yeah, this is the only one from them that I picked up, rightly or wrongly. Who knows? So Joe is saying that you tried it and you loved it. Everybody in the demo bought it. If everybody in the demo bought it, then that's a good sign. That is a very good sign. It uses a match 3 mechanism which is well implemented, and there's a lot of depth to explore. Right, there we go. Excellent. Graham says he loves the cover on that one. I'm not too keen on it. For me, that's not my particular style of artwork. I'm not too keen on that. But yeah, so yeah, that seems like it's a good one, and that is one of the ones where yeah, I do want to do a playthrough video of that. Speaking of playthrough videos, so here's what I'm doing this month and next month. There are a few videos which I am doing sponsored playthrough videos of. Sanctum from CGE, Cooper Island, Frosted Games and Capstone Games, Coloma, Final Frontier, Fistful of Meeple's Final Frontier, Maracaibo, Capstone Games and Games Up. There may be another one as well that I can't remember, possibly Kayla's, but I want to do about another 20. And what I've done this morning, I sent a message out to all of my Patreon supporters at producer level and higher. They are the ones that normally vote on which games I'm going to be reviewing in the month. I basically gave them a list of 20 games and said, you pick. So these are games which I am not being commissioned to do a playthrough video for, but I'm letting my Patreon supporters vote on, yeah, what they want to vote on. I do need to close that vote like probably tomorrow, because although the early signs are there of which ones people want me to cover, very much so. There's definite 5 or 6 that have jumped into the lead. But yeah, if you want a say in what games I'm going to be covering, then, and if you like the content that I make, please feel free to support me on Patreon, and you'll get a chance to vote. Lone Jedi's here. Hello, Lone Jedi. You got to leave shortly, but yes, you can catch the replay. Anyway, right, that's Cheng, which I've probably pronounced totally wrong. Right, next. Nobody's got a copy of this game because it's not out yet. I wanted to talk about it because I have come home with the prototype. This is the only game, really, that I've come home with that isn't actually out. So I wasn't sure whether to talk about it or not. I wanted to, but then I had to ask permission. So very quickly, I had to contact AEG, who are, of course, over in America, probably jet-lagged, and say, can I talk about this on the show? And they said, yes. So Dead Reckoning is a game by John D. Clare, published by AEG, artwork by Ian O'Toole. Will be going on Kickstarter next year. I'm going to be working on the rulebook for the game. So, and I'm hopefully, if they want me to, possibly also doing some videos for it. If you want me to do some videos for this game, let AEG know. Because yeah, I want to. I'm a fan of John D. Clare's games. I like the card crafting system. And one of the things that I did whilst I was at Essen is I had a meeting with AEG where I taught them how to play this game, which might sound unusual, but because I'm going to be working on the rulebook for the game, they sent me the draft copy of the rulebook, and they said, Paul, since you're working on the game, it would be good if you got a chance to play it. And I said, nope, I don't want to do that. If I'm going to be working on the rulebook, I don't want to have played the game beforehand. I need to read that rulebook with no knowledge beforehand. So what I did is I counter-proposed and I said, look, send me the rulebook, I will meet you at your hotel, and I will teach you how to play the game from the rulebook that I understood, from the rulebook that I've read. And then during that explanation, it turns out that they said, oh, that's not right. At one particular point, that's not how we play it. And I looked in the rulebook and I was like, well, that's what it says here. And they said, well, that's wrong. And then there was another point which was really interesting where, again, they said, oh, that's not how it's played. Or no, they were playing it wrong. And I went, well, it's here in the rulebook. And they said, oh, yeah, but what if? And I went, no, it says here, another player. And they went, oh, we've been playing that wrong. So anyway, it was a really good test of the rulebook. I'm going to be working on this game. I'm quite excited about it. I can't say, obviously, I can't really give my opinions on it because I'm going to be involved in it, but it is a card crafting game that's a lot more complex than The Mystic Veil is, I don't think it's as complex as Edge of Darkness. I've heard that is a little over complex at times. It felt right. And my comment on the game afterwards, because you're pirates and you've got a crew and you're sailing around and you're doing piratey stuff and you're building stuff on islands that then produces, and this is all done using the card crafting system, which thematically works a lot better in this because each card in your deck is a crew member, and that crew member is getting more experienced and leveling up and getting additional skills. Whereas in Mystic Veil, that I like, it's just a card in your deck. There's no thematic explanation really for that card. Anyway, and then there's a campaign mode with this game with all sorts of things that you can unlock and a story and everything else. And I basically said to them, I said, so what you've done is you've taken Seafall and turned it into a good game? And they kind of smiled at me. Anyway, right. So, yes. Matt Tidbury's here. Hi, Matt. I think I saw you at Essen wandering past at one point. Tina saying, John Declare, Ian O'Toole, that's a winning combination. Yeah, and Paul Grogan on the rulebook. Yeah. And AEG's production value. Any games released at Essen that Ian O'Toole didn't do the art for? No, basically, Ian O'Toole did the artwork for all 1,100 games that came out this year, I think. I think he did. Paul Bryan is here from Games Law. Hi, Paul. You've missed the first hour, but you can catch that on the replay. Chris is here as well. Lots of people are starting to get home. The reason I didn't start this at 6 p.m. is that I knew this was going to go on quite some time. And Vicky's going through a tough time at work at the moment. I kind of wanted to be there for her when she gets back home. At this rate, absolutely no chance because we're only on the Ds. I'm going to move on. And I'm going to tell you a story about DMACA. So when I started board gaming, properly board gaming, like when I gave up Magic the Gathering and left behind all of that other stuff and really got into proper Euro gaming, was 98, 99. And DMACA, I believe, was the first game on BGG. Game number 1 on BGG. And it had this reputation for being dry. It was about the German political system and German elections. But it was like your absolutely, top of the range, dry, boring Euro game. Exactly the kind of thing that I used to really like. And I still do in some way. And I was really wanting to play this game for a long, long time. And then eventually I got the opportunity to play it. A friend of mine, Tim, who I've known for 30 years, lives up in Newcastle. We met up at, I think it was Manacon in Loughborough. And this is going back now 12 or so years. Phil Pettifer was there as well. Phil's having flashbacks right now. So, Phil, you might want to step away from the screen for 5 minutes. And we sat down and we played it. And, when you go and see a film at the cinema, and you've watched the trailers too many times, and you're really excited about it, and you think this is going to be one of the best films ever, and then you come out feeling awful because the film was terrible. We stopped playing DMACA, I think after 2 rounds. There's 5 rounds. We stopped playing it. And Tim liked it because he liked the game. The rest of us absolutely hated it with a passion. And it's like, wow. And it was just one of those moments that I built myself up to. I'm going to enjoy this game. This is a great game. Everybody says this is a great game. And I played it. And it was like, what the... And it was just awful. So why have I come home with a copy of the new edition? Well, Spielworks, who are publishing this new edition, excuse me, I had a conversation with Uli from Spielworks. And I spoke to him about my experience with this game. And I went into detail. Basically, there's, I think, 8 phases in a round. And we played through phase 1, and I'm moving cubes around, and I'm doing something. Oh, right, this is good. This feels thematic. Not that I know anything about German politics. Phase 2, this happens. Oh, right, okay, spend money on advertising. Yeah, okay, I can understand that. Phase 3, something else. Phase 4, something else. Phase 5, whatever it was. Flip a random card, and one player gets totally and utterly screwed, and another player gets a massive benefit. And I'm like... what? It was just weird. And Phil reminded me, even in the setup of DMACA, a player can have a massive advantage or a massive disadvantage. Anyway, I spoke to Uli. He said he's fixed those problems. At which point, I am back wanting to try this game again. So this is very high on my list of games that I want to try, along with 20 others. So I'm not going to get a chance to do it anytime soon. But I want to try this again. Vital Lacerda is here. Hello, Vital. Thank you very much. And Vittel still plays Dimaka at least once a year, because Vittel, as we all know, loves totally and utterly random swingy rules in games. Joking. But anyway, yes, so I'm looking forward to trying it. The new version. Right, that's Dimaka. And Vittel, I will be interested to see if you think this new version makes the game terrible, or if you think it makes the game worse. Because from my point of view, what I know about it is I will not play the original game. Whereas this one, if it's fixed, then I will. Right, next up is me to have a drink. Right, what's next? America. Right, now this is an unusual one. Because A, this is a game from 4 years ago, and B, I didn't pick this up at Essen. This is another game which I picked up at Gen Con. It's from Catalyst Games Labs, and this is the fantasy version of Shadowrun Crossfire, which is a cooperative card game type thing, which I played once and didn't enjoy, but that was back when my tastes were different. And as those of you that have been following my channel for the last couple of months, you know that I've been playing a lot of the Pathfinder adventure card game, which I'm really enjoying, which originally I hated 5 years ago. So I was keen to try Shadowrun Crossfire again, and then I found out there was a fantasy version. So I actually went up to Catalyst Games Lab at Gen Con and spoke to them and said, look, my name's Paul Grogan, I do content on my channel, I'm actually quite keen on this game and trying it out. And again, I felt quite uncomfortable, and the guy that I was speaking to was like, I don't know who you are. Why should I give you a copy of my game when I have no idea who you are? You could be anybody. He didn't say this, but you know, that's what they must be thinking, because I've been in that position. I've worked at a booth and I've had people come up to me who I've no idea who they are. And then one of the funniest things happened at Gen Con is another guy who was working at the Catalyst Games Lab at the booth area came over while I was chatting with somebody who works for Catalyst and said, Paul, good to see you. Thanks for all of your work. Your videos are fantastic. At which point, this guy just reached around and got a copy of it and said, here you go. And I haven't done anything with it yet because I didn't have luggage space at Gen Con. So I had to leave 2 games with one of my CGE comrades, and they brought it over to Essen. They then left it in, they brought it to Prague. They then left it at Prague. It's being sent to me by CGE. So at some point in the next week or 2, I will have a copy of Dragonfire. I don't know if anybody's played it. It's certainly not a hot new game. So you're thinking, why have I covered it on this channel? Why am I covering it in this video? It's because this video is games that are new to me in the last month or 2. Right, anyway, on to the chat. Matt saying, can't wait to see my Dimaka playthrough. Yeah, I am too. Oh, and interesting. Vittel saying that you play this with Sandra. I didn't think Sandra was much of a gamer, but if she plays Dimaka, it's like Vicky. Vicky's not a gamer really, and then you find out she plays Gloomhaven, and people are like totally confused by that. This is the second game from Essen, not from Essen. Yeah, there's not many of them. Paul All would say, gave up on Shadowrun Crossfire because it felt too hard to win. I have heard that. Yeah, so we'll see if this is easier to win. Yeah, good idea, Matt. I should record something actually. Right, anyway, that's enough about a game which came out 4 years ago that didn't come out at Essen. Next is that's interesting because this is in the same boat. This I picked up at Gen Con. It didn't come back home with me because I didn't have space, and it is currently in Prague and it's being sent to me. But this is a relatively new game. This was released at Gen Con. This is Matt Leacock's era, the medieval age, or just medieval age. The one thing I have heard about this game is that there's a printing problem with the yellow. You can't see the things, and they were providing stickers, but I forgot to pick up the stickers. Anyway, this game looks interesting. It's city building. It's got lots of 3D plastic pieces, and I've heard a number of people who've played this from Gen Con who said they really like it. I've heard from a couple of people that said they didn't like it. So I'm keen to try this game. I mean, it's Matt Leacock, so you've got to give it a look. Let's just see what the weight rating is. So weight rating of 2 on BGG, playtime of 45 to 60 minutes. So it looks like this is another light to medium family game, I think. But yeah. Oh, it's a spiritual successor to Roll Through the Ages. Interesting. Okay, so it's roll and build. Yeah, so instead of rolling and scribbling on a bit of paper, you're rolling and then putting things on a board. But yeah, I'm keen to give this one a try. So yeah, let me know in the chat if anybody has played Era, Medieval Age. It's from, well, the box I'm showing on screen is Eggertspiel, but the copy I have is from Plan B. Because Plan B, I think, are the US publishers for Eggertspiel. Right, okay. Next, moving on, we're on the E's. Exodus Paris Nouveau. Now, how I got this game is Stronghold Games, who are now joined with Indie Boards and Cards, have agreed to sponsor GridCon. GridCon is a convention in the UK which I'm running in 4 weeks' time. Must order the t-shirts. And basically I'm accepting sponsorship from a few publishers who are happy to donate prizes for a giveaway and for a charity raffle. I went to see Stronghold Games on the Sunday, and Stephen from Stronghold Games was very generous and has given me a suitcase full of games to give away, which is great. But in that was a copy of Exodus Paris Nouveau, and I went, oh, Martin Wallace game, never heard of this one. At which point they threw in an extra one and said, well, here's one for you as well. Have a play around with this. So yeah, I'm going to have a look at it a bit more because it is secret identities and deduction, and I don't do social deduction style games, so this might be just 2 copies of this in the charity raffle rather than 1 copy for me, because yeah, I don't really do that type of game, but we will see. Right, let's just have a look in the chat, see what I've missed. Right, Harry's saying, in your copy from Essen, the stickers were glued to the outside of the box. Yeah, but as I say, I picked up, my copy was from Gen Con, so maybe I just need to print them off or something. Joe's saying somebody told you the Era of Tribes was Leacock. No, yeah, you had the wrong era. There was a few eras, I think. Tony Emmy's here. Yep, all the cool kids are here. And Harry's saying that you played it yesterday. It's Roll Through the Ages plus Tetris. Great and smooth as silk. Good, interesting. And Matt saying a social deduction game by Martin Wallace. I'm assuming it's social deduction because it says here, secret identities, deduction, deception. So I'm making an assumption based on that. One thing that Martin, I like Martin, is he's extremely flexible and extremely versatile as a designer. When you look at some of the games he's done, it's like, wow, yeah, he's really covered a lot of bases. Anyway, right, so I don't know much about that game. Let's move on. Expedition to Newdale. Right, this game had 2 words on it, which means it was definitely on my list of games to bring home, not knowing anything about it, and that is the word Alexander, followed by the word Pfister. There you go. Right, I don't really need to talk about this at all, do I? I will. It's a game set in the world of Oh My Goods, but it's more complicated than Oh My Goods, and it's a big heavy box. It's got 8 chapters, so I think there's like a story mode sort of to it. I know Graham's been reading the rulebook today and has found a lot of references of, and this will be explained later, because it only refers to things in later chapters. And I know somebody unboxed it and said, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here. There's lots of boards. It was Frank West from City of Games. He said, yeah, he unboxed it and there's like loads and loads of content that you don't use until later chapters. So it definitely isn't just doing the same thing over and over again. The boards are very, very different. I'm very keen to try this one. This is not going to be a sponsored playthrough, but if my Patreon supporters vote on it as one of the games that I want to cover, I'm going to cover, then I'm going to cover it. I do want to. Cliff is saying, feels like Oh My Goods and Longsdale were the test runs for this bigger version of the game. Yeah, so Oh My Goods is the original card game, and then Longsdale, whatever the full name for that was Oh My Goods, but with a kind of story-based, chapter-based system. And you're right, this seems to be moving that to the next level, but in board game form, rather than just cards. Joe's saying that you demoed Newdale and bought it, but Daniel didn't. But that was down to the demoer. Okay, so you demoed it. Now, one thing that I will tell you about this game, although it's Alexander Pfister, and I'm a massive fan of his, is Frank was describing some of the mechanisms to this in the airport in Amsterdam while we were waiting to get the next flight. And he was concerned about the push your look. mechanism in this game, that you can make your plans, but then if the right workers don't come out of the bag, you can't do those plans. It was a little concerning from the way it was being described, because I'm not that keen on the push or look mechanism, but yeah, and I know Oh My Goods has that, but in a shorter, lighter card game, I don't mind it. So we will see. We will see. Vitaly's also saying Fister is one of your favourite designers. You got Maracaibo, but not this one. Yes. Paul is saying anyone who likes Oh My Goods will like Expedition. Demoed it at Essen. Right, okay. Chris is saying you're going to open your copy this evening. Excellent. There are 3 double-sided boards. You use a different one per chapter. Right. Okay. There we go. Right, so that's Expedition to Newdale. That is downstairs at the moment. I actually started to unbox this last night by taking off the lid, and then got tired and watched Have I Got News For You instead. And then did some admin, and then went to bed. Next. Fast Sloths. Now, if we're talking about versatile designers, Friedman Frieser is crazy. And I mean that in the best sense. I've had the fortune to actually meet him on a couple of occasions and spend time chatting with him. And there's people like him and Vlada Shavatel, and to an extent Vittel, even though you're here in the chat, who, when you sit and you talk to them, I can see that they're operating on a different level of mentality to me with regards to game design. And I have a lot of respect for them. Now, Friedman Frieser is known for doing some crazy, weird, odd games. This was not on my radar at all. And then I was lucky enough to be invited to the Spiel des Jahres party on Friday night as Vlada Shevatel's +1, which is never thought that would happen. And Henning was there from 2F Spieler with Friedman Frieser, and they were playing Fast Sloths. At which point I know Henning. I went over, I had a chat with him. I said, "Oh, is this his new game for this year?" He then spent 5 to 10 minutes telling me about it. At which point I was very interested in it. And he said, "Well, come by tomorrow and I'll see if I've got a spare copy for you." Again, I said, "Look, I'll happily cover this on the channel. Pick me up and deliver me." So you are a sloth in this game. This is one of the few games I can actually tell you something about because I was told something about it. So this is a game where, yeah, you're the sloths and there are 6 animals in the game. There's actually 12 different ones in the game, but you choose 6 at random at the start of the game. And then what you do in the game is you actually play cards to control these other animals that come and pick you up because you're too lazy. Then the animal moves, takes you with them. So you've got to go around collecting these bananas. I think you're collecting bananas. But you don't actually move yourself. So other animals come along, pick you up, and the animals have got special abilities and everything else. But when he was describing the mechanisms to me, I was like, this sounds really clever. The replayability is through the roof because there's so many different setups, and they're going to be releasing these fixed sort of scenarios which are basically use this setup and use this setup, but there are ways you can set it up yourselves. So yeah, I've got this one, and I want to be doing a video on this one. Paul Bryant from Games Lorry saying you're waiting to hear a release date, so maybe I will go back to Henning and Stronghold and find out when this is going to be released and maybe time the video in with that. And Kristen Bell loves sloths, which is all Matt knows. Excellent. Right. Vitterson, get well soon, Paul. I'm eager to see how to play video. Yes, I'm very eager to see my how to play video for On Mars. Yes, I would have worked on it today, but I was just, yeah, hopefully tomorrow. But there's no way I'll get it finished for the weekend. A game based on laziness. Should sue them for stealing your life. Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to this one. Excuse me a minute. Oh dear, dear, dear. Right, where are we up to? Are we on Z yet? No, we're not. We're on F. Fire. Right. So this is in a series of Fable games from Freedom and Frieser that I've missed the boat on. I haven't played any of the Fable games yet. I've heard good things about them. I've heard some bad things about them in terms of one of them contained so many English errors and typos it was almost unplayable. I think this is the latest one. This came out this year, so this is the next game in the Fable series. I haven't played any of the other ones, but I've wanted to. They are shortish, play once games, as far as I know. And yeah, I'm keen to try this one. So yeah, if anybody else has played any of the Fable games, please let me know in the chat what you think about them. or if you pick this one up. I think when the Fable games came out, I think there was 3 of them that were released at the same time. And I don't think there was any more released until this one. Can't quite remember. And Tony Emmy's saying that you got this one. Right, okay, cool. Anyway, right, yeah, so that's that. That's fire. Fistful of Meatballs. So this is the second game that I will be doing a sponsored playthrough video for. This is another one from Final Frontier Games by Johnny Pat Cantin. And this is it uses a Mancala system. It's a fairly light game where you use the Mancala system, but unlike Trajan, for example, which uses the Mancala system, where you activate the space that you landed on, in this one you activate all of the spaces that you basically moved through and landed on. And you are collecting gold and stone, you're building buildings, you're collecting gold bars, and one of the spaces is where you can duel another player, which is quite cool. It's fairly light, fairly simple, but with some good decisions in it. So yeah, there'll be a playthrough video on that coming sometime in the next few weeks. Going back to the Fable games, so Joe's played Fear and Fortress, but not Flee. Fear was better than Fortress, but both were nice. Will Friedman Freezer ever get short of names with F's as titles? No. Fable Fruit is interesting. Actually, yeah, I have played Fable Fruit. Richard Klein brought it round to mine once, and we played like the first 5 games of it, and I'm keen to delve more into that. Tony saying Fresh Fish is phenomenal, but yeah, spell it with an F. Cliff is saying they were okay. Played 2 of them, the Alice in Wonderland and the other one. So, okay, and Harry's saying that Fortress is a good to pick up on an evening when totally tired and can't handle rules. Am I right in thinking that there's no rules in the Fable games? That you just start playing? Yeah, I think it was. Anyway, Fistful of Meeples. We're talking about 2 games at once here. Yeah, really nice, cute little meeples in it. And I incorrectly described this at Essen as a dexterity game. I don't know why I thought that. It's not a dexterity game at all. Jenny's going. Watch the rest later this evening. Thank you very much for joining in. And now let's move on from Fistful of Meeples to Flick of Faith. With such an oddly sized box, right. Few things about this game. It's an oddly sized box. I mean, it is like this big and this wide, and it doesn't actually say Flick of Faith on the front cover. It might be the only game that I've got in my collection which doesn't actually say the name of the game on the front cover. Although you could argue that Roads and Boats doesn't say the name of the game on the front cover because it's like RBOT. Yeah, anyway. Marcin from Awakened Realms basically told me that once I've played this game, I will want to sell the rest of my collection because this is the best game ever. So I'm a little nervous about playing it because if it is the best game ever, I'm never going to want to play anything else. I think they might be joking, but this is Flick of Faith. This is a dexterity-based game where you're flicking things around, which are not normally my thing, and that is because the dexterity games that I've played in the past, when they first came out, so Carabande, or whatever the other name for that is, you know, the racing cars flicking game. That one. What was the one with the cowboys from... oh, yeah. Sorry. Anyway, flicking game from... Who was it for? Who was it from? Oh, this is going to bug me now. Oh, I can't look up because I can't remember the name of the game. Anyway, flicking game came out a few years ago. Flick 'em up. That's it. I knew I'd get there in the end. I've played those games and they just appear to be just flicking things around without much else going on. And then I played Flick Fleet. And I was expecting Flick Fleet to be exactly the same. Just a nonsense, flicky, silly game. And it's actually not. There's actually quite a lot of tactical elements to Flick Fleet, and it's quite good. So I got a description of Flick of Faith, and it had the same thing. There were decisions to make, there were other things going on, but there was the flicking mechanism in there as well. So yeah, keen to give it a try. And yeah, people are now saying flick 'em up. Thank you very much. I got there in the end by just saying flick. Was I thinking the Meeple Circus as a dexterity game? Yeah, Meeple Circus is a dexterity game, but not a flicking game. And Jason Pack is saying that you watched a playthrough of it and it looks fun. Okay, cool. Vittel's got to go. Thank you very much, Vittel, for joining in. Graham Charlton says, played Fistful of Meeples on Monday evening, and it was great fun. Susie's here. Hello, Susie. Thought you was commenting in live chat, but you wasn't. You might have been commenting on the Facebook live chat, because I'm trying a dual broadcast. This is going out on Facebook at the same time. If somebody could just pop onto the Facebook live stream and just add comments in there to say, unfortunately, Paul can't see the comments that are coming up. Just in case people think that I'm ignoring them. So hello to everybody who's watching this on Facebook. My widget is not working. It was supposed to be. It's there, but it's not working. So I can't see any of the Facebook chat, unfortunately. Right, what have we got next? So it's just the YouTube comments that I can see. That's Flick of Faith, the best game ever. And next we have Flotilla. Now, Flotilla was one of the games that was mentioned in the pre-Essen show. So this is JB Howell, Michael Nielczek. Anyway, it's by WizKids. Now, WizKids since Zev joined WizKids, Zev Schlesinger used to be with Z-Man Games, WizKids have been doing quite a wide variety of board games, and some of them have looked interesting to me, and some of them have looked definitely not my kind of thing. This one definitely looked like my kind of thing. Not just from the artwork, but actually looking into it a little bit, it sounded quite interesting. So this is one that I definitely want to do some coverage of on the channel. If anybody got a chance to play this at Essen, please let me know about it. I know Matt from Creaking Shelves was telling me a bit about this game in the pre-Essen show, most of which I can't remember. And yeah, people saying yes, they were commenting on the Facebook chat. Yeah, there you go. So there's probably lots of comments on the Facebook chat. As I say, if somebody can pop on there and just let them know I can't see those comments, I will get them later on. But anyway, Flotilla from WizKids. Is this on... right, Michael Mihalsik. There you go. Thank you, Daniel. Is this on anybody else's radar? Are you keen to know more about this game? As I say, I will be doing a video on it, hopefully. It won't be a sponsored one, so if my Patreon supporters vote on it... In fact, I'm just going to take a break while you all talk about Flotilla. Paul saying, played at Essen, just ordered it back home, sounds amazing. No, hang on a minute. The chat's going too quick. Paul saying, played at Essen, just ordered it back home as it was sold out at Essen. Right. Okay, so you enjoyed it enough to want to buy it, but it was sold out. Daniel is saying that the designer of Flotilla used to work for Quick Simple Fun as a lead developer. Rick's saying that he's home. Hello, Rick. And the AEG pirate game sounds amazing. And you are lucky enough that you'll be able to play it. Because I'll need somebody to blind test the rulebook. So I have a prototype. Vincent's here. I sent you a message earlier on, Vincent. Thank you, in advance. Flotilla was fun, and I prefer when theme matches mechanics. Makes it easy to remember things. And Matt saying, I hope my recommendation pans out. So yeah, so if Vincent's saying that the theme does match the mechanisms of this game, cool. And Geekographs is saying, can't wait to play Flotilla. Definitely interested in it. So yeah, there appears to be a lot of interest for Flotilla, which is good. Just going to take a short interval and tell you how the voting is going on my Patreon campaign. So for those of you who missed the thing at the start, basically I'm doing a few sponsored videos this month, but I want to be doing a whole load of Patreon supported videos. So what I've done is I've put a poll up on my Patreon channel for all of my producer levels and higher, and they can vote on which games they want me to not review, but do a playthrough video of this month, which will actually be a playthrough followed by a round the table discussion and mini review after one game. That's what's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you where we are up to with the votes at the moment. If I can find out where it is. Published. Here we go. View. Is it going to work? Is it going to work? Yes. Right. So at the moment, in first place is Expedition to Newdale with 32 votes. So Lookout Games are going to be happy with that. I will be doing a video on that, funded through the Patreon campaign. Next is Age of Steam Deluxe, 20 votes. Then we have the Railroad Evolution, which is the Railroad Revolution expansion, which is 16 votes. Glenmore 2 is also 16 votes. Flotilla is 14. Yeah, that'll do. That's the top 5, I think. So yeah, they're the ones I'm definitely going to be doing. And what I'm planning to do is I'm going to plan to do them in that order. So Patreon supporters have voted. They're the games they want to see. I will try to do those videos in that order. So is Kayla's 1303 pretty set for December 2019, maybe before Christmas? I don't actually know exactly. Obviously, it's Asmodee. Asmodee keep a number of things close to their chest. So I don't really want to say. It could be before Christmas. It could be January. I'm not sure. We will see. Right, okay, what's next? That was Flotilla. I'm really enjoying this, although we are only on F, and we're an hour and a half in. Vicky's going to get home soon, and she's going to be like, I thought you said you'd be finished. Frontier Wars. So I mentioned earlier on, I went to see AJ from Van Ryder Games, and he was keen for me to just, maybe he was trying to avoid taking stock home with him, I'm not sure, but AJ's great, and he basically said, Paul, if you want any of these games, no strings attached, you don't have to cover them on the channel, just keen to see what you think about them. And I said, well, what's your new game? And he sat down and he went through Frontier Wars with me. And he described it to me, and I was honest with him. I said, look, the kind of games that I'm playing now, this game is of no interest to me because it looks like a tactical war game with little plastic soldiers and tanks. However, I grew up playing Axis and Allies, and the little tanks and the little soldiers in this game look just like Axis and Allies. So I said, tell me more. And then he started telling me more, and the deterministic combat and the way that this game worked, and the way the card play worked, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm interested. So, as I said a few times already, those people who've been following my channel for the last 6 months to a year know that my tastes have been broadening, and I've been, diving into areas that aren't necessarily things I would have done a few years ago, and this is definitely one of them. So I'm quite keen on this tactical war game, hexes, little plastic miniatures, but no dice for combat, deterministic combat. So yes, Paul saying he approves of the voting results, which is good. Kevin is saying, will you be doing more cold, open and learn together visit? Yes, actually, yeah, good point, Kevin. Some of these videos that I will be doing, the non-sponsored ones, are going to be the unbox the game, so you get an unboxing video for free, learn how to play the game from the rulebook, and then do a playthrough video, which I thought was a crazy idea that nobody would watch and nobody would enjoy. The amount of messages I've had from people saying, these are really good, we find these really useful, so I'm doing more of them. And because they're non-sponsored videos, means I don't need to go through the effort that I go through with sponsored videos, which is get the game, learn the game, play the game, practice teaching the game, do a rough script. That's a day and a half's preparation just for a 2-hour stream, just to make sure I get it right. So yes, I will be doing that. In fact, I'll probably be doing that with most of them, to be honest. We will see how we get on. Right. Am I going to split this into 2 videos? Actually, I might do that. Yeah, I might do that. This might be part 1, and I might do part 2 tomorrow. Let's just have a look at where we are on the list. What I'll do is I'll keep going till Vicky gets home, because we are about halfway through, I think. Yeah, right, let's move on. Glenmore 2. Oh, I like the original Glenmore. I have the German version of Glenmore, because the English version I think it was really hard to get hold of. And it was like in a small box, and it was a little game with little tiles. And Glenmore 2 Chronicles is in a massive box. This isn't just 2nd edition Glenmore. I mean, it is, but it's so much more. It looks fantastic. Funtails, new company, new publisher. They have done a really good job with this game. I'm friends with Nils, who works at Funtails, and I said to him, look, I'm really happy for you. The Kickstarter's done really well, the game's done really well, and it looks fantastic. And as mentioned earlier on, Glenmore 2 is in that list of games that my Patreon supporters have voted on. So this is going to get a playthrough video. It's not a sponsored playthrough video. It's funded through the Patreon campaign. But yeah. And I met with Peter from Laserox. And basically I'm going to get a wooden insert for this game as well. So I will be showing off this game with a nice wooden insert in it from Laserox. Laserox are a company that make wooden inserts for games. Yeah, I can't wait for this game. As I say, I'm a big fan of the original Glenmore 2, and I actually got to meet Matthias Kramer at the Spielwerk stand, which I was really happy about. Right, so Tina's saying you got this on order. Joe's saying he's got to pop out for a meeting at past. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Let's finish this today, and let's come back tomorrow and do part 2, and I will continue going through the games there. Yeah, that's probably the best thing. Tina's saying the wooden insert sold out really fast for Glenmore. Yep, they sold out, which is why I didn't come home with one. But yeah, Laser Ox are going to send me one afterwards. Paul saying he was disappointed that you had to pop out and fill your own campaign boxes. Would be nice to open them like a legacy game. Okay. I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, this game comes with campaign boxes. So if you're saying that the boxes are just in the box and you actually have to fill them. Oh, you pop out. When you say pop out, I thought you meant pop outside. No, you mean actually pop out and then fill your own campaign boxes. Yep, that would have been nice if they were able to do that. But there we go. So we are up to Glenmore 2. I am going to cover the rest tomorrow. I will put a link in all of the usual places. I'll post it to my Patreon page. I'll post it on Board Game Geek. I'll post it on social media, Twitter and Facebook. I'll try and get the Facebook chat working. I don't know how, because I've added the widget. I told it to authorise it and it's not worked. And I will change my password because apparently people could see me typing. So I will do that now. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat. Yeah, I didn't know how many people were going to be in the chat. So it's been really good. I hope you found this video useful. Again, thank you very much to all of my Patreon supporters for making a lot of my content possible. You've got 2 days left if you want to support me on Patreon to win a copy of Madeira Collector's Edition. Anybody who is supporting me by the end of the month, which is tomorrow, will get entered into the prize draw. So, yeah, that's it. And that's it. Right, so I'm going to go for a lie down, I think, and then going to have dinner, watch a bit of telly tonight, and actually do some unboxing of my games. There we go. Thank you very much for watching. I will see some of you tomorrow for a similar time where we go through the second half of the list. I'll see you then.
Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.